morning, good afternoon, good evening, you wonderful explorers, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Psychic Explorer. I really hope you are doing well, my friends. I don't want to be that stereotypical Brit that gives you a weather forecast every time you tune in, but my God, it is so hot. We are currently experiencing an unprecedented heat wave in the UK. In London at the moment, it is about 40 degrees. That is, I think, 104 for the American listeners. And I know for the Australian listeners, that is probably nothing to you. But believe you me, when you do not have air conditioning, when we are just not equipped for this sort of weather, it is crazy. I worked about 3-4 hours this morning in my gardening job, and I got to about 12 o'clock and I was like, nah, I'm done. I can't work in this heat. It was just like being under, I don't know, a heat lamp. It was just crazy. So yeah, I thought this afternoon, my partner and I, Sam and I, we went to a little pub by the Broads, which is close to us, and I dipped my feet into the water. So refreshing, so lovely. And we came back about an hour ago and I thought, right, let's go upstairs and do some recording. Let's talk about an experience that I have had. My word, was this an experience. And before I do, I just want to caveat this episode that this episode is not a bitching session. This episode is not a dramatic rehashing of they said this and I said that and they said this and then I said that. I'm not interested in that, but I do feel there needs to be some sort of context around this. For those of you who follow me on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, you may have seen a recent video that I've released about an experience that I have had just the other night, actually. So I will just recap on that. But rest assured, this episode is more about what that experience taught me, how I felt before, during, and after that experience, and how I intend to go forward. The whole point of the Psychic Explorer is to share with you, my dear listeners, my real, raw and honest lived experience of moving into the mediumship and psychic world. And it's not always rainbows and angels. There is I was tempted to use the phrase darker side, but that implies something much more demonic than what this situation was. But there certainly is a shadow side to it. And on Sunday, I experienced that for the first time. So today's episode is relevant, but it's more about an experience of what can happen and the types of people that may be out there, or rather the types of people that are out there. And just a heads up that they are out there. So to give you guys context, I have been putting together, and I haven't spoken about it yet on the podcast because, well, it's just logistics. The episodes that have gone out have been recorded or were recorded before I put this all together and before it's all sort of gone live. So this is the first recording I've done after I'm comfortable with where this thing is. And this thing that I've been putting together is Sunday and Wednesday, or Wednesday and Sunday Explorers. It's a free online Zoom room, which if you want to come along, dear listener, you are more than welcome. You will find the details in the show notes. And this is a free practice space for mediums, psychics, people who read tarot or oracle cards, a place for people to practice. On Sundays, it's about an hour and 15 minutes long. And on Wednesdays, it's about 2 hours long. Starts at 7:15 p.m. UK time. And it's been so lovely to see my UK circle people and my US circle people come together in the same environment. It's for me, it's quite surreal because I'm seeing these two very important parts, or these two very important social groups coming together. It's always a bit strange and nerve-wracking when that happens. I've been very conscious to highlight that this is not a teaching space. I do not teach. A, I am not at that level. And B, I don't have the inclination to. That is not where I'm at, and that's not where I think I want to go. So all that I ask when people come to this space is that they respect one another, that we are all at different stages of our development, and to hold space for that and to respect that. And as the facilitator of this group, the responsibility is not overwhelming, but it is a big responsibility to make sure that people are put together in a safe way, that the rules of the group, the respect of the group are adhered to. Not only when I first started using Zoom for this space, was I getting myself used to how to put people into breakout rooms, how to share music and sound, how to mute and unmute people, how to operate the waiting room, all the technical logistical stuff. Going back to my TikTok video, the performance in inverted commas is one thing, but the learning to use the actual media, the platform, is quite another. Then there's the promotion. There's the using Canva to try and put a flyer, an online flyer together that looks like something that I have genuinely put a lot of time and effort into producing to make sure it's not too woo-woo, to make sure it reflects my brand and something that I am comfortable with putting out there. And trying to find different groups that I feel happy advertising in and putting it into. And then, of course, there is the human side of things. How do you manage people? How do you try and manage the time? How do you try and make sure that people aren't giving too much away so that when other people read for them, they don't know the information that they're giving during their validation? There's a whole lot of stuff. You know, when I went into Dana and Matt Towell's groups and their circles, I didn't even think about it. I just turned up, I did it, and I went home. Not even a second thought. I have so much respect. I have so much respect for people that hold these spaces because it is not easy, guys. It really isn't. But it's my choice to do it, and that's all good. I'm happy to do it. I love putting it on, and I love the community that is building and it is coming from it. The question is, though, what happens when someone comes into that group that disrupts the energy? Back in episode 14, I think it was episode 14, when my face-to-face circle leader, Nicola Gigi, said that it's really important to manage the energy, and it's down to the circle leader to manage that energy. And I always took that on board. That has rung through my ears since the first moment I started putting this space together. And I've wondered what would happen if someone came into that space and was disruptive or was doing something which I didn't think was ethical or just wasn't comfortable with the group. What I'm about to say here, folks, is not a rehashing of an argument. I don't want to play that game. I don't want to be that dramatic, but I do feel it's important to give you the background and what happened in a non-dramatic way, or as much of a non-dramatic way as I can, to just describe my experience. This certain person came in. They came in for a few weeks, and on the first session, I clocked that I wasn't comfortable with their interaction with people, shall we say. But I thought, you know what? I'm just learning this. This person has come in from outside of my group. I don't know them. They're brand new. Let's just see how it goes. And they came in a few times, and each time I had feedback that this person was not someone who made reading for and reading with a comfortable experience. The whole point of my space is that it should be, and these are the rules that I say at the beginning of almost every session, we need to have respect for one another, respect for where each person is within their development. You might be with someone who is at the beginning of their journey. You might be with someone who is 5, 6, 10 years into their journey. Let's have respect for where people are. And the overwhelming feedback that I was getting was that this person was not having that respect. And I saw it a few times. Now, as I say, this is my baby. This is my brand new thing that I am putting a lot of energy and a lot of effort into. And this person was being argumentative. And one of the things that we are taught in mediumship is self-development. Mediumship is 90% self-development. You need to look into yourself. You need to look at where you are in your life. What are your traumas? What are your issues? Because the more you can get, not over, but more you understand those and more that you can get past those, the more your mediumship will sing, will rise. And I think there's so much in that really is, because as I said on this podcast, as I've said on Kelsey Anderson's podcast, The Amazing Reclamation, if you haven't heard that, go and listen to my episode on her podcast. But when the better we understand ourselves, the better we understand each other, and the better we're able to understand and interpret the messages and the signals that we are being given from beyond, wherever that means to you. It was very clear to me that for as long as this person has been doing mediumship for, or rather for as long as this person said that they had been doing mediumship for, there probably was more growth to do within themselves. And that's fine. That is absolutely fine. However, as a facilitator, I need to make sure that other people are safe. I need to make sure that other people are not made to feel uncomfortable, and that this space is supportive, that this space is somewhere that you can fall flat on your face and not be picked up on it, and not be made to feel like you should have done better. And the feedback I was getting was that that is not what this person was doing, especially in the one-on-one breakout rooms. It was not great feedback that I had. So this was something new to me. This was not an experience that I had to deal with my mediumship, or as far as my mediumship is concerned. It was not a case of I need to change the way that I practice. Rather, it was about me and how I handle things as a host, as a leader, as that facilitator. What I realized in that moment, and I don't mean to sound pompous, I really don't, but what I really noticed in that moment was just how important my instinct to protect the group, to protect other people, and to hold integrity. I realized just how important that was to me, and I knew I had to deal with it. I knew this person was not able to come back into the space. And you know what? As much as that made me feel slightly awkward, I was happy with that. I was happy with that decision, the decision that I had come to. So this person keeps trying to come into the room. When you come into the space, you're placed into a waiting room where you're told the general details and the timings and the general rules. And then I can admit people when they come in. Now I have, as the host, I have the ability to admit or not admit people. I didn't have this person's email because this person doesn't use an email to log in to Zoom. So whenever they came in to the waiting room, I couldn't go and speak to them separately because I had a group of people already there waiting to start the session. So I couldn't do that. So instead, what I did was send them a message in the waiting room, a private message in the waiting room. Unfortunately, this person did not see that for several weeks, and they didn't see it. They kept coming, trying to get in for several weeks. Each time I just sent them the message and waited for them to go. I presumed they weren't reading it because they kept trying to enter the room. Now on Sunday, well, by the time that this goes out, Sunday 2 weeks ago, I saw someone come in with a different name, and of course I didn't know who they were, so I just admitted them, and it was this person. So I carried on as normal. I thought it's fine, okay, it's fine, it's all good. And interestingly enough, a person messaged me afterwards and said when they saw this person come into the room, they were like, oh God, please don't put me with this person. And that is the level we're at. In these sessions, I put people on one-on-one breakout rooms because I think it's really important to be able to practice your mediumship one-on-one. Many practice groups, the format is a general platform style. So people go into the group, into the room, and it's many people in the room. And when you feel that you want to give a reading, you put your virtual hand up and you give your reading in a platform environment. I like that, but I do feel that these practice sessions are missing a one-on-one element, and that is what I like to try and give in my spaces. So once I'd paired everyone up and put them into their breakout rooms, I made sure that I put him with me in a separate breakout room. I was not going to do this publicly. I wanted to be as professional as I could, and I did this as privately as I could. So I put us into a separate breakout room, just us. And I asked them how they were and tried to make it as polite as possible. And I said to them that I've been trying to reach out to them, but I don't think that they were getting the messages. And they said, no, I've received no message. And I said, okay, I have received feedback from several people that when they are reading with you, the readings that they give you and the readings that they get back and the feedback and the validation are very uncomfortable. And before I could even finish my sentence, he launched off in a tirade, a really angry tirade, telling me that I was an evil person, that I was horrible, that the space that I provide is a negative space, and that is the reason that this person couldn't get a connection with spirit, because his spirit team were withholding information because he knew that I was an evil person, and that that is why he couldn't get a connection, and that his spirit team didn't want to give me a message, or didn't want to give a message within my platform because it was not a safe, it was not a nice environment. The second that he started that, I knew I was validated in not allowing him into the space and from protecting other people in my space from him. He went off and told me he was going to destroy my name, that he knew loads of different people in the area, and that, or rather in the community, and that he was going to destroy my name, drag my name through mud, and kept repeating that I was an evil, evil person. I was so proud of myself because I kept my composure. I was trying to just be as calm as possible. I explained to him that I needed to protect people if they felt uncomfortable with this reader, and I'm sorry that he felt that way, but I needed to protect my group of people. I know I'm overusing the word space, so I apologize. I'll try and refrain from using it from this moment forth. And I felt sick. My heart was pumping so hard, I swear it was going to burst out of my chest. I was so full of fight or flight adrenaline. I didn't know what to do with myself because this person was just on a screen. He was saying that he was recording the entire conversation and that he was going to spread it everywhere and tell everyone how terrible the person that I was. I was expecting this at some point from someone. I was expecting confrontation. You don't go into mediumship. You can't go into mediumship and thinking it's going to be fluffy bunnies and unicorns and everyone's sunshine, light and rainbows, because they just don't exist. You only have to be on TikTok for 5 seconds to realize that there are people out there trying to troll people. And that's, unfortunately, it's part of the game. It's part of the business. It's just part of it. And, I love skeptics. That's fine. And that's where I thought it was going to come from. I thought it was going to come from some Christian zealot who was going to tell me that I was channeling demons and the devil and that I was going to go to hell because I was talking to, Lucifer or whatever it might be. That's where I was expecting this to come from. Not from someone within our own community, within this community. I've got several communities, but within this community. I was glad it happened. It was really uncomfortable. And I knew that I had done the right thing because you are not a spiritual person. Or at least you are, in my books, you are not as spiritual as that person thought they were if they are going to threaten to drag someone else's name through the mud because of feedback that person has given them off the back of my personal observation and feedback I'd had from people within the group. It wasn't nice. I felt sick. I knew I couldn't do any readings. That from that session, normally I put myself into a group to participate. I couldn't. I just sat back, let everyone else do their stuff, and I just managed the room from behind the scenes after they logged out. And it was a great lesson. I'm still not entirely sure what the lesson is, apart from learning that this is going to happen to all of us sooner or later. I'm sure everyone listening to this, if you are developing, and this is not to put anyone off because, it happens, but we're all going to come across people like this. We're all going to come across people we like and people we don't like, people we get on with, people we don't get on with. And just because we are all channeling spirit, because we are mediums and we are developing psychics and whatever else label you want to put onto it, does not mean we are all singing from the same hymn sheet. There are some people out there who have got an ego to feed. And I'm just glad that it put, you know what, that's what it is. This is what it is. It put my principles to the test. I could have just let it carry on because I was too afraid of confrontation. And I don't like confrontation, but when I see injustices in the world, in my day-to-day life, when I see things are not right, I do call them out. I do. It's my duty as a human being to make my environment better, to call out the shit when I see it. And I did the same here. And I'm so glad that I did, because it means that I like to think, and I hope it is felt within my group, within Sunday and Wednesday Explorers, that it is a safe space, that it's somewhere for people to come. And if they do make a mistake, if, as we all do, if they don't give a reading as well as they had hoped, that it is taken in good grace and that a lesson is learned from that experience. In an environment where they're not going to be belittled, in an environment where they're not going to be made to feel silly. Going back to what I said a minute ago about the perception of the spiritual community of being love, light and rainbows, we are human. Everyone who participates in this art, because I believe it is an art, is human. And with that comes wounds, come baggage. And just because someone is channeling love, light and rainbows does not necessarily mean that that person doing the channeling is healed from their wounds. And it doesn't mean that when you confront them about how they make other people feel, as graceful as you can try and deliver that, does not mean that they are going to receive that with the grace you have tried to deliver it in. So today's episode is not all about my mediumship. It is not about readings. It is not about my self-doubt. In fact, if anything, this episode is about the certainty I had when so often in this world, on this path, I have experienced self-doubt. I felt certainty that I was doing the right thing in protecting other people in that group. Again, at risk of overusing using that word again, other people in that space, protecting them from someone, from an energy, and I don't mean that as in negative, the connotations that may have, but protecting them from that vibe so that everyone can practice in safety. I hope all that makes sense, and I really hope that this episode does not come across as a mudslinging episode. That is not my intention. You know, I wish this person well. I wish this person positivity in their development. And I guess, you know, what is the purpose of this? What's the moral of the story? Well, the moral of the story, I guess, is that we're not always going to come across people in this community who are on our wavelength. We're all different. Like I say, we're all human. So just that, really. I hope all that makes sense. It's just a reflection of my recent experience that I have had. And I hope that goes some way to revealing the honesty of what is out there. So, yeah. If you've come across something like this, I'd love to hear about it. Not in a gossipy way, but I'd love to know. I know I'm not alone. I've had people message me already saying, this is common. I've had one good friend that's messaged me after this and saying to me that some of the worst people that they have met have been from the so-called spiritual people because the ego gets in the way, and it is that ego. And yeah, I'm very conscious of when I do this that I don't want my ego to get in the way, but I think I'm going to use this as an example to prove that that is not my case, that I do care, and it's not all about me, that it's about other people as well. If you are interested in coming to Wednesday and Sunday Explorers, after all that, I promise you it's a lovely environment. It is safe. And if you want to practice your mediumship, if you want to practice your psychic abilities, if you want to practice your tarot or your oracle card readings, this is a really lovely environment to do it in. An opportunity for you to maybe read for people who come from different parts of the world from yourself. I said in the New Year's episode back in January, or was it December, end of December, beginning of January, that this year I was going to try and practice. And yeah, this is just a space to do that. So if you are feeling like you would like to practice, if you are feeling like you would like to practice in a safe environment, then do come along. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok for notifications to when it's on and where to find it. If you follow me on Instagram, normally on the day of the session of the practice circle, I put a story up and it has a direct link, so you can access it directly. Otherwise, you can find the meeting code and the passcode on the flyers that I've put out digitally, and you can also look in the podcast notes, the show notes below this episode for direct links as well. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate your time today. The next episode is with the marvelous Melly Guidance. We are going across the pond yet again, but this time we're going north of the border. We're going to Canada. And Melly Guidance specializes and focuses in the Akashic records and past life psychic readings. So it's a very interesting, slightly sidestep for me, but very interesting conversation, which I really hope you will enjoy. But until then, I am sending you all my love. Take care, guys. Bye.